So you were saying earlier how trans rights don't matter.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I heard this joke actually the other day. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Unfiltered and Out There. We're with John over here, chef who travels the world, America. Tell us a little bit about that, and then I'll tell you a fun BLM joke. Everybody's cool, though. It'll be funny, though, because what you just said. Tell us about your journey, man, and what you're doing nowadays as a chef, and how you got there.
Oh, the journey. Damn. So starts when I was 12. My mother is from Poland. My father is from Nicaragua. And growing up, food was always like the centerpiece,
Yeah.
Culture, all that stuff. And then growing up, going over to my friend's house, they would always have like bologna sandwiches and stuff like that. And they'd come over to my parents' house and be like, oh, the food's so good over here. And then I'd be like, this stuff's trash. I'm over this stuff, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I want the bologna sandwich,
Yeah. Definitely grew up that sounds like a southern treat.
Yeah. Fried bologna sandwich. And I really wanted that, and I never got them. I always got like guamki, which is like stuffed cabbage rolls with rice and meat and tomato sauce, and I was like, oh, this is great. And as a kid in America, you're like, all right, cool. There's like a differential thing around me that I'm figuring out, and I was really confused because I grew up around a lot of Hispanic people, and as a white person, it was like weird. I had to like prove myself like in a weird way, and then
build that street cred, stab a guy or something,
And then whenever I was 12, my parents opened up a restaurant called Ella's European Market in Delhi. I started working there from 12 to 16, and I would like cut all the meat. I would help pipe deviled eggs. I would do whatever, wash all the dishes. Me and my buddy Eugene, we would be skating around Forest Acres, and then my mom would call me and be like, hey, we need help. So me and him would go skate over there and then help for the lunch rush. We'd get some lunch ourselves, and then we'd go about our day and continue skating, So then, but at that time, I was always like, I hate this restaurant. I hate that I have to work. I hate, this, but I got...
You want to go and skate.
Yeah, and they couldn't legally pay me because I was a kid, but they gave me tips that I would make, right? So then I bought my first guitar with those tips.
And what kind of guitar was that, bro?
It was a Dean V, black.
Nice.
Go Dimebag.
Bet you remember that feel, man. You're like, oh, yes.
I remember opening it and like saving up the money and buying it off of wasn't Sweetwater at the time. It was
Musician's Friend or
Musician's
something.
Friend. Yeah.
That's back in the day.
Yeah, I bought it off Musician's Friend. And it came in the mail in this glorious white box, and I open it up and it's a V, and I was like, I can shred like Dimebag now. But then I took all these lessons and trying to shred, and
dude, Dimebag Darrell was one of the best guitarists,
dude.
I mean, what a horrible way to die, but also like a rock and roll kind of way to go out playing guitar. It's so horrible, but like, man, I see
in front of his brother was kind of
I know the whole thing
part.
is messed up, man. It's like Pantour's touring now. I'm like, no,
it's not.
It's just no
Vinny, no dime.
Yeah, it's like, wow, man, I don't need the nostalgia. It's okay.
Yeah, we already have Kanye. We don't need.
Yeah. And he's definitely like he's bringing America back together right now. Yeah.
It's wild. But yeah, then so I was able to like do that, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool. Went through school, got into a lot of trouble, skipping school, truancy, going to DJJ. Once I was 16, I went to DJJ, and then I had to do a program after that called drug court. And so like every month for 3 months, every 3 days a week, I had to take a drug test. And then the following 3 months, I had to take a drug test every other week. And then the final 3 months, it was once a month of that program. Once I got out of that, I immediately moved out of my parents' house and started washing dishes at this place called Cafe Gatura, where the owner, James Foley, he, kind of took me under his wing and like saw that I like had potential, and he was like, mate, like you just listen to what I'll say and you'll go places. And I was like, all right, cool. And so
was he Australian or British?
He was very Irish.
Okay, cool.
Very
so
Irish,
I was way off the reservation. That's cool.
Well, I'm bad at accents.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was like, whoa, either way, this is a cool guy.
Yeah, but he ended up getting a part of the business because he hit a hole in one out of like an Outback tournament thing. He had a hole in one, got some money, and then invested in a Cafe Gatura. After that, I left after like working there for 2 years. I went to a Thai restaurant for about a year and a half, which was awesome. I learned a lot of Thai. I learned a lot of Thai food, which is like some of my favorite food.
Oh yeah.
And then
wasn't that basil? Was that what that? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I love Thai food, man. It's great.
so good. It's everything you need. It's so balanced. You have like salty, sour, sweet, umami, spicy, and then it's all like Thai food. Like is really trying to hone in on all of those, balancing each other like perfectly. Those 5 things. Just
Never even thought about it that way, but it makes sense. Like Tai Chi and Thai food, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So then I was there for about a year and a half, and then they turned Cafe Gatura into Taza Kitchen. They asked me to come back and help them open it in 2014, and I was like, all right, cool, sure. And so I was working there. The head chef over there, he liked me a lot. I ended up being the best man at his wedding, and I met one of my partners now over there because Austin was in Florida. He came up to South Carolina to open up Taza, and he brought along his friend Robert. Robert, we'll get into him later, but that's where I met him, right? Very pivotal moment. We became best friends. He lived with me for about 6, 7, 8 months. And then after I worked at Taza for a while, they asked me to be their head chef in 2015, April 20th.
Okay.
So I had just done the Masters for the first time. I was at the Masters with my buddy Sam, who was kind of like my mentor. He took me there. We were chefs for Capital One Bank, and then I got home, and then a couple days later, they were like, "Hey, John, welcome to the Reigns. Don't forget, you don't clock in anymore." And I was like, "I'm not even 21 yet. Like, this is crazy, right? How are these people gonna like respect me? You know, and they're 35 years old. I'm a just newly 21-year-old boss."
Yeah.
However, I had worked with these group of guys for since I was like 17, and you know that off and on with going to Basil and stuff. We were all really good friends from Cafe Gatura because like they kept most of their staff, whatever they turned over to Taza Kitchen. And after that, like they saw my work ethic and they saw how I would always like if I saw you working, I would work harder than you. If I saw you clocking in early, I would clock in earlier. I would leave later. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I follow that entirely.
Before I was their head chef, I was a sous chef under Austin, and I brought this little notebook because I wanted to not mess this up. But like I wrote down 5 pivotal things that I needed to think about every day in this notebook. Because if I was going to use this every day to write recipes and stuff like that, or just general notes, I wanted something to be there right in the front that'd be like something to look at and always remind myself what's the path to success, right?
Oh, dude, this is awesome.
So
we gotta know him.
Yeah, right. So basically, I started off this notebook in what year was this? This had to have been like 2013. But it says, remember the kindness of others and repay with gratitude. I got that from a Buddhism book that the Thai lady handed me, right? And at the beginning and the end of the book, it says, the first thing it says is, remember the kindness of others and repay with gratitude. At the end of the book, it says, now that you're done with this book, you are not allowed to keep it. Give it to someone else, right? And I always thought that was so great about that book. So I don't have it anymore. I don't know where that book is in the world now.
Dude, I hope it's just like, dude, just keeps going on.
Right?
Like, yeah.
I put my initials
Some little
in it,
kid in India is
hopefully.
like on the beach, like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So then after repay the kindness of others, or remember the kindness of others, repay with gratitude, value the needs of others. Very important. 2 things. And then we get into path to success, right? Achievements. Start with an idea, perspective, a point of view, or just an attitude. Now, to follow along that, take one small step. I will not do what no one else is willing to do. Often the easiest way to be different is to do the things other people refuse to do. Keep going every day. Do something no one else is willing to do. Whether it be like, this guy always complains about changing the fryers out, right? Well, I'll change the fryers out. This guy complains about cleaning the hoods. Well, I'll do it. Yo, you don't like cleaning the grill at the end of the night? I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? That mentality, like, just kind of everyone, whenever I became their boss at 21, these are the reasons why. They were like, okay, cool, I get it. You know? Like,
and I kind of do the same things too, man, working at the zoo. It's like, it's a weird thing being like a young leader with a bunch of people that are young, especially the generation now. Great generation, but they're like, they question everything. They're like, how old are you? I'm like, doesn't matter. Like, really, how old am I? I'm 32. They're like, okay. And I'm like, clean the grill for them, show them how to filter the fryer. I'm like, you know, now what I oftentimes do is I'll like filter a fryer and I'll show them how to do it, even if I kind of know they know how to do it as an example. And then I will go and grab like the filter paper and I will rack it back in the fryer. I'll make sure it's warm and be like, all right, I'm standing right here. Questions asked, like, all right, show me you retained that. They're like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm right here. I'm here with you the whole time.
yeah.
And they're like, whoa. And then they know that I'll do it, but I'm like, hey, let me make sure like tomorrow when I'm off, I'm not rebuilding a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, hey.
Yeah, do show, tell, review.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, so then the next thing would be face of fear. The most paralyzing fear is the fear of the unknown. Nothing is as scary as we think, like changing a fryer or, you know, taking on a new job. You know, oftentimes, like, you go into, you're like, or becoming a parent, you know? It's super scary at first. You get into it and you're like, I love this. This is easy. You know what I'm saying?
The worst part is you're sitting there trying to like get sleep afterwards. I mean, as if like we really did anything, but we were there like, you know, holding the hand and stuff.
Right,
like, come on, back to life now. And then the doctor comes in and brings that iPad video. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I got a half hour sleep. Now you show me this? Yeah, that was the best. The baby shaking video. I'm like, God.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. So face of fear. Thirdly, I will appreciate someone unappreciated. Not only will you give... I put that on Do Not Disturb.
Siri's trying to overthrow this thing like 007. It's all good. I got Alexa on it.
They're trying to steal my recipes, dude. That's what it is. I will appreciate someone unappreciated. Not only will you give the best kind of respect, you'll earn the best kind of respect. The kind that comes from making a difference in someone's life. That's huge. There's been so many times where someone underappreciated, like I had a guy, we'll call him Teacups, right? His name was Thomas, and he went by Teacups, but he was going through a lot in life, and he always came to work, whether it be late, and like if he messed things up, like he had a hard upbringing, but he was trying every day. He used to play D1 football in Texas, and you know, kind of just lost everything. Drugs became real bad for him, and you know, found his life in the kitchen. And everyone would be like, John, why don't you get rid of him? Like, he's late, he's lazy, blah, blah, blah. I saw something in him, and I was like, I'm going to keep him going. You know what I'm saying? No one else understood why, but like, I would take him home sometimes and see his life at home. I'm like, that's rough. I couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's trying, he's making an effort. He's walking 5 miles to work sometimes, and he's got holes in his socks, holes in his shoes. You know what I'm saying? But he's trying, you know? This paycheck can help him. I'm going to help him.
You said his name was Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
Did he wear glasses?
No.
Okay. I knew a Thomas.
Weatherwax?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't play D1 football?
No.
No, not
but you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, dude. I broke a bong across his back one day. Like, all right, we were at my house.
That's crazy that, like, all right, yeah. I don't know why. I forgot about the D1 football thing, but I was like, you're describing a Thomas I know that I feel like you knew. Right. That's funny as shit.
Right. We were at my house in like 2012, and I had this really cool glass piece that looked like a saxophone, and he broke it, and I was like, that was $280. But behind me, I had a 4 foot tall acrylic bong.
Yeah.
And
like a Cypress Hill.
I was like, yeah, right. I was like, you're gonna pay me for this bong that you just broke. Also, he paid me straight up immediately, and I was like, cool. I was like, but also let me break this bong across your back. And he was like, okay, cool. So somebody has a video of me taking this big 4 foot tall bong and and it's acrylic, so it's had to smash hard. And he's the size of my pinky, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm just railed across his back. I was like, why'd you let me do that?
Yeah.
But he let me do it.
It's like a Pineapple Express fight scene right
He
there.
fell asleep in my guest room with 40s taped to his hands, piss in his pants.
That's awesome.
Yeah, bleep out his name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Thomas Smith. Yeah.
So number 4,
Yeah.
I will listen 10 times more than I speak. Now this one I've gotten away from in life generally because I talk a lot.
Yeah.
I talk a lot
ADD
of
is a thing.
bullshit.
You're like, hey,
But
I want to do it.
right,
Yeah.
right. But at the time, I think this was very important to me. I will listen 10 times more than I speak. I used to talk a lot. I used to think I was real insightful, real clever, real witty, a real hoot. Oftentimes I was not. Never speak just to please yourself. When you do, you please no one.
Yeah.
And I think
And
that
that's deep.
more people need to do that.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know?
mean, that's definitely, pay attention. Let's read that one again. Everyone listen.
I will listen 10 times more than I speak. I used to talk a lot. I thought I was real insightful, real clever, real witty, and a real hoot. Most of the time, I was not. Never speak just to please yourself. When you do, you please no one.
Man, that is mystical. I
Mhm.
feel like if you had like a gray beard, I squint my eyes. I'm like Gandalf, like that. That's like something he would say. Some of Hobbits.
I was 20
yeah.
years old when I wrote this.
Dude, that's awesome, man. And,
Yeah.
and it's just great that you have this book still, and that these things you've carried with you on your journey, and it's cool, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
special,
very
dude.
important to me. I mean, and like where I've gotten to, it's insane. We'll get there later. One thing I can always do is outwork them. Rarely have I seen a situation where doing less than the other guy is a good strategy. The extra mile is a vast wasteland. Everyone talks about going the extra mile, but few people ever go there.
No, that's truth. We've all worked for that boss. It's like, they'll go in there, and I'm not gonna be rude and be like, hey, you don't even have any like, flour on you or anything. You don't have any like sweat on you. I get yelled at the zoo. I don't get yelled at, but like my managers would be like, hey man, you look like shit. I'm like, because I'm like sweating, running around. I'll have like insulation on me because I'll be doing electrical. I'll rewire stuff. Like I'll replumb things. I'll
Mhm.
keep the damn place running.
Right.
Whatever breaks, I'm fixing it. On top of like running the food team, I've got a lot of great assistants up under me, and I always tell them, I'm like you just said, you should want to outwork them. I'm like, but don't do stupid shit like me because I'm not an electrician, but I know what I'm doing, but I could die.
Mhm.
I'm like, if I do,
Yeah, I'm not touching electricity.
someone please be recording.
Yeah.
It better be like Home Alone. I better be like, oh,
Yeah.
like I was like, better be cool.
Yeah. Better be funny.
Yeah, better be.
Yeah.
Yeah, better go viral. My death. Come on.
Yeah, right. Lastly, on this is probably one of the most important things. I will stop and smell my roses. Big plans, big goals. You're never satisfied because satisfaction breeds complacency. Most of the time, that means you're unhappy because you think of what you have not done, what you have not achieved, and what you do not have.
That's amazing, dude.
So stop and smell your roses.
So is your roses like your dishes, your food, is it your little like finger post to success things
My
you've achieved?
roses are my availability to go play golf as much as I do.
That's awesome, man.
That's me smelling my roses. One thing I've always wanted to do and never had time to because I was always slaving away and busting my ass was just be outside and play golf, but I could never make time to do it, and I could never, think of how selfish that would be, for me to just like, oh, sorry, it's my one day off. I'm gonna go play golf and not spend time with you, So
Yeah, I mean it's oftentimes too I think of like what the word humility means. It's like what is true humility? It's not thinking like less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. But also like you look at like people with all these crazy degrees. I mean, I never went to like college. I went and got a audio engineering Midlands Tech degree thing. That was fun. It was like certification for like 8 months or whatever. But like all these people with these great high paying jobs, we need doctors, but like they have no time freedom to enjoy all this money they make. They have all these cars and boats, but like they never get to have fun with it,
Mhm.
They don't have that freedom, because it's very, I don't know, consuming that world. So like to have branched out and done your own thing and like be on this unique path you worked extremely hard for. I mean, hell yeah, smell the roses. Go and freaking smack a 9-iron over Shooter McGavin's head, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And then these are just like some side notes. That was like the meat of it. That was the meat and potatoes. But like leading from the front, and then that's always great. You want to lead from the front, push from the back.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to respect you. People aren't going to follow or if you're like traveling like I do, people don't know what you do. People are like, oh, why is this guy telling me what to do? But if I just lead from the front and don't push from the back, then people are not going to pay attention and listen.
Yeah.
With long hours and stuff like that in the restaurant industry, I always would like be like, I don't know how I'm going to make this out. But as like I used to cycle a lot and try to run. And there's like the runner's wall, right? But then whenever the David Goggins famously said, when your mind is telling you you're done, you're only 40% done. You still have 60% left in the chamber.
Oh, yeah.
In restaurants, and you're like, you just finished a Sunday brunch shift and you just got crushed. The place is a mess. You still now you got to set up for dinner.
Yeah, and then there's a guy, it's like, it's only 12. I could be tired. I'm like, hey, fucker, I've been here since like 3:30 prepping that whatever it is you're eating. Like, why don't you go like die somewhere? You know, it's like, you don't realize, man. Yeah.
Care about your goals, care about doing your best, and care about those who have helped you along the way.
Yeah.
That's always, care about those who help you along the way is very important, because you know, you wouldn't be where you're at if it wasn't for them.
No, it's definitely you know, and you meet a lot of people too, especially, I mean, you know, I've met so many people. My whole life I've been trying to figure out what it is I actually want to do. You know, I have severe ADD or whatever it is, you know, and I'll find a path of something.
That's why you're a drummer.
Yeah, I'll find something I want to do, and I'll like hyper fixate on it for like a week, and I'll be like kind of a pro at it, and I'll be like, oh, what? Squirrel, like next thing, and then I'm like, I have so many things I could be good at, but I try to often figure out what I want to do. Right. And that's kind of like why I do this, you know, because I always have liked to talk with people. I've always liked to make people laugh, you know. So those are two things that have kind of narrowed it down. And then everything else, I get to enjoy music. I get to enjoy, like, you know, going to do random things. Like I just kicked my own ass. So that's kind of like my philosophy. I've read a few David Goggins books, and I love them, man. Mm-hmm. There's a great book over here I read recently. It's called The Warrior Poet Way. It's by John Lavelle. He's a Army Ranger, and he's a father too. He talks about basically how to balance being a warrior, a protector of the household, like not you know, being a tough Superman for the kids and the wife, but also showing empathy and love too, you know, having balance, you know, because all these guys will go to war and stuff and they won't know what to do, you know, when they come home. And I apply that same thing with me. It's like, you know, you get to doing something so often, you get into routines, and then you oftentimes lose sight of like what happens whenever something new comes in life, like a child or like a new job, or you have to move. Like, how do you adjust, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's having that balance, you know. Balance has been like my word of the day every day for like the past, you know, couple of years. It's just kind of, I can't give too much to one person or one thing. I got to balance it all out, you know?
Right.
And it's kind of given me a lot of perspective, you know. It's, I've enjoyed it, you know. So let me ask you too, with your job, working for Guy Fieri, right? Mm-hmm. What's he like, man?
Oh man, he's one of the most nicest guys on the planet, honestly. When I met him last year, I had met him through Zoom meetings, and then we opened up a restaurant in Ohio. He came in for the opening, as he always does for all of our openings.
Yeah.
And he was like a rock star, dude. I was standing by this ice sculpture. He comes to my left, and I'm like, dude, this guy's got this aura about him that is unbelievable, right?
Well, he seems like everything you want in a chef versus like, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing in chefs. You've worked with far more than me, but like you get chefs that are great at cooking, but like horrendous at delegating and managing. And that's for that whole like chef attitude of, hey, come on, do this. You're going to have that no matter where you're at. But like, he seems like a kind of a fun guy to be around. He's going to gnaw into you probably.
He's a fun guy, regardless of anything work related. That's just his nature. He is just so kind though. Like one of the most kindest like business owners I've ever seen in my life. You know, for instance, like he didn't need to hire me. He opened up a position and had me in his back pocket and reached out to me and offered me a job. I went and cooked for them for 2 days, about a year ago, March last year. And so I did that, but then when I met him, I was like, I couldn't be starstruck because I work for him. Like I could see everybody else like starstruck, Um, one of our last meetings, he, ends it with saying, be good to yourself, be good to your mental, be good to your physical. Do what it takes to take care of yourself. Go on a vacation if you need to. Like this life is too short, and just kept going on and on like that. And I was like, that is like, who says that? What
Dude, that's
employer,
awesome.
like, what employer employs their or implores their staff to, generally take care of themselves? And he says it with such like conviction, like he genuinely cares. And like the more I learned about him and the foundation as well, and what he does for first responders and cooking with kids and all that, and all the philanthropy behind that, it's truly amazing and just like one of the most generous things.
Dude, I mean, and clearly, I mean, I knew who Guy Fieri was before this, but like right before we started, and I'm gonna ask you to repeat it again. Tell me about what it is, like all the not side quests, but all the, I guess the servitude he offers and you all offer working for him, whether it be you were saying the California wildfires and the hurricanes and
Mm-hmm.
cooking for kids,
Mm-hmm.
like, do you mind explaining some of that in detail, like of what all that entails? And
Yeah,
because
so
I think people would love to see that side of it.
yeah, no, absolutely. And anytime you see Guy on TV or in interviews as of past couple years and right now, he's always wearing a Guy Fieri Foundation shirt. Um, and so I feel like people don't ask enough about it. But yeah, so he works with this guy named Brian Daly, and Brian Daly's he oversees most of that. Um, Basically, so we have this humongous food trailer, absolutely humongous. It's badass too. It's wrapped like it's to the nines. It's so sick.
Dude.
So I think for the California wildfires, like, and if I'm wrong by this number, then just bleep it out. But like the fires happened, all of the firefighters and first responders, they were able to go up to the food truck and eat for free, get a meal. We fed about 25,000 people,
Wow.
and we just opened up one on the East Coast that'll be hitting Florida for the hurricane relief over there, Asheville for the hurricane relief over there, and any other major catastrophic events that have happened and where they need assistance. And it's just our philanthropy, and it's
Dude, that's awesome, man.
such a great thing to do for
I,
the
I know all
community.
those people love that too. That a warm meal, like a lot of people don't realize. I mean,
Mhm.
we're in South
We can bring
Carolina,
Flavortown to you,
dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of foods do y'all like offer on that truck? I'm assuming like
So
some
smoked meats and stuff like that, like easy to multiply.
yeah,
You know,
big old like
it's
pork
obviously
belly.
not going to be like some foie gras and
Imagine like a farmer who just lost his house, living up on like eggs and goats,
yeah,
and you're just like, here's some whatever you just said. He's just like, what?
yeah, right,
That'd
yeah,
be. I kind of want to see that, but I'm also like, hey, here's some warm food, man.
yeah, right.
That's cool, dude. So whenever you went to do your tasting, I know that's a big point in like getting a job as a chef, the tasting.
Mhm.
What'd you cook for your tasting?
So I didn't do that. So I went to this casino in Columbus, and there's a concession stand. It's like attached to a horse track. There's a concession stand and an empty kitchen. Random. I was like, "What? Where am I? Like, what is this?" It's like kind of like a dungeon, And I was like,
Oh,
"This is just." I just got on a plane, went to this dungeon, and then like, "All right, cool, here I am." But no, we were opening up a restaurant, and they had a lot of unfinished recipes because it was a new concept, one off of all of our other concepts. So all these recipes were new. I was handed a bunch of unfinished recipes, and then told to complete them and shoot pictures of them and stuff like that. And they just watched how organized I was, my knife skills. One of the craziest things about that was not only doing this for 2 days, but the last hour of me being there before I have to get in an Uber and get to my plane and get home was my boss saying, "Hey, how much time do you have left?" And I was like, "I got about like 30 minutes." He was like, "Can you do this recipe real quick?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, no problem. I'm not gonna say no. And if I miss my plan at this point, I miss my plan. You know,
Yeah,
I don't have
yeah.
a chance to do this ever again." So, um, I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And it was called it the martini chicken, and it's basically a balsamic like reduction with chicken stock and some hot pepper, vegetables, and flattened chicken breast, bone in airline chicken, and I was like, all right, cool. Where's the chicken at?
Oh
So
shit! It's in the dungeon.
I
You
went
gotta
and
kill
I
it.
said, yeah, I have 30 minutes, right? I get shown a TikTok video and said, hey, can you replicate this? Right. So I watched the TikTok video and I'm like, yeah, sure.
Did that feel insulting at all?
No,
I'm
no,
just
no, no, no. I
playing.
mean, like that's
You see like a
the future.
5-year-old and like,
Yeah, well,
Guam, like
honestly, as a test, that's pretty ingenious. I think
that is cool though.
Redo this, you know. But I was like, "Where's the chicken at?" So I went and I go grab the chicken. And I was like, all I'm seeing are these whole chickens, right? So is there any like just chicken breast or like airline chicken already cut up and butchered or flattened out or prepped or anything? Nah, they're all whole chickens. I was like, all right, cool. So I got to butcher this whole chicken, fillet it, get my pieces out, pound them, bread them, season them, cook them in 30 minutes from whole chicken, right? Luckily, I worked at the Thai restaurant I worked there at one point for a year and a half, and then I worked there again for another year. And every Tuesday and every Thursday, we had to debone confit duck, right? So we had all these duck in the confit bath with like anise, cinnamon, whatever. Then we'd take them out, let them cool down a little bit, and then we'd have to remove every bone inside of the duck. And like we're doing like 100 of them on Tuesday and 100 of them on Thursday.
Damn.
Removing every bone, but keeping them completely intact.
That's
keeping
like some surgical shit,
right,
man. Like,
right, yeah. So you
if
just take
cooking
it,
doesn't work, dude, you could totally like amputate some legs.
yeah.
You know?
I could debone an entire person. I swear to God, it's the same thing. Like, but you have to keep them completely intact. Once you cut them in half down the spine, you're keeping one whole side intact, but boneless. And like, there's a
Dude, I don't know why I just thought about this, but if you were in the movie Jeepers Creepers, he would like fly over you and be like, "Nah, you're usable. You can live."
Yeah,
like it'd be like
yeah.
some like I don't know why.
Yeah. So luckily, and I had to do that twice a week, so I got really fast at it. Right? I know where every bone is. I know how to remove all of the bones, keep the ligaments there, and then keep the muscle intact. You know,
That's awesome.
like pushing, like cutting right here, cutting through right here, and then pushing this bone out, but leaving the bicep, you know, pretty much, and then pulling out the pelvis. So I was like, all right, perfect. I got this in a flash. So I debone and fillet quarter this whole chicken in like less than a minute. And I'm like, this probably the most impressive part of my whole fucking part.
Dude,
And
that's
then
freaking cool.
I throw together, but also like, so where you prepped was downstairs, where you go and cooked was upstairs, right? So I had to take all this stuff upstairs and then come back downstairs and do
you
all
left
this.
the bones and made it really like a dungeon. People walked in like, holy shit, now there's bones. Like, who was in here?
It's graveyard, yeah. Yeah, and I got that done, and then I talked with them, and they offered me a job, and I was like, "What?" Flew home. I flew home, and I was like, "Man, is this real?" I woke up the next morning, and I called Robert, who I met when we opened up Taza Kitchen. He works for Guy. He got me into this pretty much. He put my name in the hat 3 years ago. And yeah, so that
Dude,
happened.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's like got to be one of the coolest like interviews. What is going on, everybody? Sorry to take a break here in this podcast. I know John's telling all the wicked stories of his chefing days and hanging out with Guy Fieri and all. But I want to take a moment to send a little special advertisement out there. A good friend of mine, Irina, she runs one of the most magnificent photography businesses. She's based out of North Carolina, and she will make your special day more special and memorable. She will capture the image of whatever it is, your family day, your intimate wedding, whether it be you being a chef and you make all these amazing meals and you need someone to photographer and take pictures of it and capture that awesomeness. She is by far the best at what she does. She cares so deeply well. Please head on over to her Instagram, and I'm going to send it all right after I'm done talking. And make sure to go and find her, reach out to her, and let her know that Matt sent you. And go ahead and book that photographer for whatever your special needs are. She's based out of North Carolina, but she travels all over. So she's a one-stop shop. Look no further. I highly recommend her. She's an amazing person to work with, and she's passionate at what she does. So Irina Reichert Photography on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Find her. It's awesome. You will not regret it. And let her know I sent you. Have a wonderful day. Let's get back to the podcast. I mean, that's kind of like, well, y'all like Zoom called and stuff. But I consider that like the face-to-face interview thing. Like, I deboned a thing and like made awesomeness and finished your recipes. You gave me a TikTok video, and here you go. I gave you an AOL or whatever. I don't know, man. Like, you killed it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's wild. And now I travel the country and check on restaurants, create menus, create new dishes, R&D a lot, which is research and development. I just get ideas. I have a test kitchen on Main Street we don't sell food at all. I just use it as a kitchen, and it's empty, and I have all my stuff there, and I go in and I cook, I have fun, and play some music, take some shots.
Dude, that's awesome. We tried to make a test kitchen at the zoo. Ended up not working out because zoo's got like 10,000 people, and they're sporadically like, they just want like, I mean, the zoo could make it happen. It's just, if we had like one restaurant or two, it's just so difficult, to offer some really cool stuff. Now we're getting a little creative with it, but so whenever you're like working there, like what kind of music do you listen to? Do you work with any other chefs while you're in there?
So there's one other chef that we share the space with. His name is Pierce, and he makes pasta. He makes fresh pasta for all these restaurants around Columbia. It's called Dorcia Pasta Company.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So he gives me a bunch of stickers, and whenever I travel and stuff like that, I would send him a video of me slapping him somewhere across the country. Or recently it was Folly Beach, so I just slapped it on a stop sign.
One of these days you just be like, homeless dude face. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. But where's the pasta?
Yeah. Be like, nah, you get the sticker, man. It's cool. Swag.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll let you in. That's cool, man. So have you, well, let me ask like some crazy stories. I guess like, you said this guy Robert got you in, and you met him through Taza, right? Mm-hmm. So you still like work with him? Yep. You both just kind of travel separately and stuff. And
yeah, he does front of house beverage hospitality operations, and I do food.
Oh,
so
nice.
we don't work together often, but maybe like 4 times a year, maybe
That's
4
cool,
times
though.
a year if I'm lucky. But openings and stuff like that, that's where we're kind of all together as a team, as a unit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's like some of the what's one of the craziest kitchen stories that you have? Like, have you ever accidentally like set a kitchen on fire and then thought like, I could Titanic this, guitars in the car, and I will come and just play this and just lean into this? Like, it was Billy. He's dead, but hey, you know what I mean? Like, what's the craziest kitchen stories? And it doesn't even have to be with where you're working currently.
Right. This one guy had working for me back in 2015, 2016. His name was Christian. Rest in peace. He's gone. He's not with us anymore. But he was a Puerto Rican. We called him Puerto Rican Poppy, or DJ Calories. Because he looked like DJ Khaled, kind of, to a degree. So,
but that name was
then
taken.
he just started getting bigger and bigger. We called him DJ Calories as a little inside joke. But he was one of the clumsiest people I've ever met in my life. And he'd be like, Papi, shit, I didn't know. And he'd like have like a hot pan of like risotto, and like this would be like the corner of like a dish pit or something. And he would just like leave it there, and he'd be like, okay, and then like go walk away. And of course it's gonna fall.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? This dude was an idiot. But he had a
hot pan.
He had a seizure one Saturday morning. I see him like run through the back line into the alleyway, and he starts seizing out, and I was like, oh my God. And it's the middle of May, and it's so hot outside, and the concrete in the alleyway is just radiating heat, and he's a big dude, and his head was like antimatter. I swear to God,
Holy
it was
shit.
so heavy. I was like trying to hold his head up so he's not like going all over the place. So we end up calling the ambulance, and he goes away.
He goes
But like, so he comes back, and like the next couple weeks he's good. And then another morning, I noticed he's like breathing weird, and he notices he's breathing weird, and he's like, I need to sit down and have another seizure, right? And I was like, oh, good, we're prepared this time, right?
Yeah.
So we get him.
We've got a chair.
We got him a chair. We gave him a paper bag to hyperventilate into, and the general manager Dave, he goes, it's like, Christian, have you had anything? He was riding his bike to work too. He goes, Christian, have you had anything to you had anything to eat for breakfast, or what have you had today? And he goes, a monster and a Billy cheesesteak. And then Dave, the general manager, was like, dude, it's 9 a.m. Where'd you get a Philly cheesesteak from? But he goes, but before he said, where'd you get a Philly cheesesteak from? I just hear him go, breakfast of champions. And while he's having a seizure, I just died laughing. It was so funny.
Dude, that's commitment, man. A monster and a Philly cheesesteak.
9 a.m.
He knows a guy. Like he's got a dealer for those. You know what I mean?
Like, where'd you get the Philly cheesesteak? He's at the gas station.
Oh
Dude,
shit!
You're going through it right now.
He's gonna be upper decking in the bathroom after a seizure, man. Like, dang.
Yeah, that was one of my most favorite moments, just because of the Philly cheesesteak. Why? You have some eggs.
Well, rest in peace, Christian. I didn't even meet the guy, but he sounds cool.
Yeah, he wasn't real cool at the end, but the memories I have of him are just so fucking hilarious.
That's the best, though.
Yeah,
just hold on to those.
Yeah. Don't do drugs.
Yeah,
don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. No, not at all. It's I was telling this joke the other day, and I was trying to, because I had this dude come up to me, and and I love my country. I absolutely love it. My whole family's in the military. I tried to get in the military, but I blew both my knees out, and so I was 19. It just wasn't going to be an option. I was like, well, all right, so I'm going to go a different path. And this guy who was like out in his front yard, he had like a rebel flag, and he had like a fat pinch of skull in, and he was like, hell yeah, brother. And I was like, hell yeah, brethren. I don't know what we're hell yelling, but hell yeah. And then he's just like, the South will rise again. I'm like, have fun. I was like, we lost, dude. I was like, we fucking lost. It sucks, but hey. I was like, I don't even care what the war's about. I live in the South, and we lost. Yeah. It just hurts to have an L on the record. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know what it was about, even though I do. But it's like, damn it. And then I went up to Wilmington, and I saw this little protest in the street. And it was for, I forget what it was about, but it was more of a liberal-leaning protest. So I went to the comedy show that night, and I was like, man, how do I make fun of everyone? Then give people perspective. Where I'm from, Bamberg, middle of damn nowhere, like where they cook the finest meth. Walter White, he got a recipe from us. I'm telling you. Like it was middle of damn nowhere.
Yeah, I've been to Bamberg.
Yeah.
I've been camping out in Bamberg.
Yeah, you just, you're walking, you see a local, and you're like, oh, I don't know whether to say hey or like, here's a toothbrush. Like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we got options. And I was, I told him, I was like, it's crazy because being in the South or anywhere in America, you've got these guys that got their big flags or big trucks, and they're just like their AR-15 out the window, like, hell yeah, spitting a pinch of skull on their wife's heels, and she smacks them in the face like, America. Then you got like this liberal over here who's like, I got my emotional support bunny. I will take a bullet for it. But my kid, fend for yourself, And I'm like, meanwhile, I'm just chilling, wondering why the hell my neighbor sold my damn dog for some fucking meth again.
Your neighbor sold your dog?
No. I'm just like the realization of the joke of like where I'm from. Like those are the problems we face. You know what I mean? Like why the fuck we get a new dog every week, Dad? Well, Billy's back on the crack again. He sold it. I'm like shit. I'm like, y'all worried about all this. I'm just like, I want to keep a dog. I'm like, damn it. Yeah. And it's after that show, I had this lady come up to me who did an open mic before me, and she was she's in the trans community, she was like, honestly, your joke gave me a lot of perspective. I was like, what? Like keep your dog on a leash? Like don't do meth? Like what part of it, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, what part? And she's just like, no, that it's okay to laugh at things and not like fist fight in the street. I'm like, well, you put it like that. Yeah, that's kind of the goal here. I was like, I came from a world where people could agree to disagree and we could still shake hands and like be friends. You know, I think some of the best friends are like people you agree with fully and people you fully disagree with. You know, I think that's some of the best friends. You just got to be open to the conversation. You know,
Right.
and it's been fun. So how's so you know playing music? You know, going back to that, man, playing guitar. Clearly, some old school metal. Talking about Dimebag. How's music inspired being a chef? You know, because I imagine there's some days. I don't know. Did you ever want to be a professional musician, or have you always just loved to play guitar for the love of the instrument? You know, and just the feel of it, and just the artist aspect of kind of I don't know making music.
I started an orchestra in 2006. I played bass and cello, and I fell in love with my teacher. She was so awesome. She was so good at playing cello, and I was like, "That's amazing." But my dad told me, if I want to learn how to play guitar, I have to learn how to play bass first. I don't know why he said that, but I was like, "Hey, all right, cool. I want to play bass." And so then I took orchestra and I played upright bass, and which was honestly the best decision one of the best decisions I made because I learned how to read music at a young age and absorbed all that. But music and food, like timing, tempo, like
Yeah,
if you study music and you play music, you then you have a metronome in your head, and if you're cooking things, if I'm cooking things, I always have a timer in my head, and
yeah,
I'm very able to keep a 5-minute timer in my head. You know that feeling whenever you go to your microwave and there's 1 second left on it and you're like, fuck yeah, I did that.
yeah.
I can do that every time when I'm cooking.
I'm
You
a
know what I'm saying?
wizard.
I know exactly how long it'll take me to cook. I know what that feels like. I know what the time, the tempo of it feels like. Also like the cadence of service, like whenever you give out your apps, your entrees, that cadence, you have your crescendos. And I used to do like coursed meals with oysters, right?
Yeah.
Um, there's oysters from all over the world. They all taste different, and there's a million things you can do with oysters that I kind of didn't realize at first until
You
I.
just blew my mind saying that, dude. My whole life I've thought oyster, Bloody Mary, vodka, fried. Like that's all I've ever had. But
No,
like
there's a million things.
I've got
You can
like
make oyster ice cream.
what
You can make oyster like.
is it like
Yeah, it's good.
holy
It's
shit.
great. No, it's not even just
Dude,
good.
that sounds like
Like it shouldn't work, but it does.
holy shit.
So there's this Italian kind of like a custard, frozen custard. It's called semifreddo, right? Semifreddo literally means half frozen, right? So it's never gonna fully freeze like ice cream.
Yeah.
And it has a super soft texture in your mouth, right? And that is basically egg yolks, hot sugar, and then you fluff that up in a food processor and you mix some cream together. What I did is I did that, and then you fold them together and you let them freeze. But I added peaches and about like I made like a batch about this big, and I added like 23, 25 oysters to it. Big motherfuckers too, like
Dude,
super big.
that
And
sounds freaking awesome.
but there's such like an umami and a salty brininess to it that the salt and ice cream, right? That's always delicious, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it work? And then, I made oyster cotton candy.
holy shit,
Um,
dude.
Yeah, I'll send you
All
some
right,
pictures.
now I got some ideas for the zoo. We sell fuck ton of cotton candy, little kids, and be
I'll
like,
send you,
Mom, there's snot in my cotton candy.
Yeah.
Shut up and eat it, Billy.
Also, so like we would do these courses, right? And it was called the Oyster Series downtown at Smoked. And now they do a seafood series over there, and it's super awesome. Their chef,
Yeah.
Tim McCloskey, he does a phenomenal job. But I was doing the oyster series, and like I would create themes for them, right? Because it's kind of boring to be like, oh, this is oyster, this is where it's from, it pairs with this wine, this is why. And if you taste it, like on the back end of it, the finish of it, it can be like melony, it can be extremely briny, it can be very minerally, depending on where it's from, because all the waters are different and they're filter feeders. Also, like then they raise them in these waters and they have like farms, right? But then you have like Pacific Coast, like Kumamoto's oysters, and those are way different, kind of sweet. Haigatas, those are from like Japan. Those are super amazing. They're all different.
What's like the wagyu of oysters? Like, is there one that's like a marbleized oyster?
I mean, that's all preference. I love a good Beausoleil. They're real small and
Yeah.
they're just delicious. Beausoleils are one of my favorites. Haigatas and Kumamotos. Um, Wellfleets from Virginia are really good.
Dude, I didn't even know there was multiple names for an oyster. I'm just
There's
like,
so many.
I see an oyster, it's an oyster, but that's so cool.
Yeah, there's
It's like
so
perspective. I didn't know. I just learned something really cool, and I love eating oysters.
many. And for like themes, right? So like Thanksgiving, so like think about it like this: like you have a taco shell, right? You can stuff it with whatever meat, and then you can make a million different kinds of tacos, right?
Yeah.
There are a million. Your oyster is just a vessel for creation of like in that sense. Like Thanksgiving, I made this bourbon vanilla sweet potato casserole, right? So then I made some like really really smooth, and I put it in a piping bag, and I was like call me fucking crazy, but this should work, right? So I took a little bit of that and I piped it like zigzag, real fancy, on top of an oyster. I took some marshmallow and I bruleed that on top, and then I put some walnuts, some candied walnuts on top of that. Then you eat that as
Dude,
a
that
single
actually
bite.
sounds good.
You eat that as a single bite.
Holy crap.
Fucking mind blowing, right?
And you just came up with that. You're just like,
I was like, I think I like woke up and I was like, what am I gonna do for Thanksgiving oyster series? Like I want to do like 8 fucking courses, but what am I gonna do? You know? But I figured it out and it was amazing. Like,
dude, that's
blew
so
my
freaking
mind.
awesome.
Yeah,
I feel like all the food I eat is so basic. Like, damn it, lean cuisine, change it up.
yeah. I'm gonna work on creating a oyster cookbook, just
Dude,
because like
that'll sell like damn hotcakes down here, man.
At
I mean, it
some
would
point-
sell anywhere.
at some
for
point I
sure.
realized I was doing so many things that I don't think have ever been done before, like oyster ice cream. I looked up once I had the idea to mix semifredo and oysters together because I wanted to do a dessert. It was my last oyster series whenever I was working at Smoked, and I was like, I want to fucking pull out all the stops. I want to overthink this as much as possible. I was looking up like oyster ice cream. Are there recipes that people have done this before? No. You know, like certain things I'm sure.
Dude, to be a pioneer of something like that, that's like, you know, even
I mean, at least I
even
couldn't
Martha
find anything.
Stewart would be like, hot damn. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? She'd
right.
be in her jail cell. Well, she's out of jail now, but like, she's got like some street cred. You know what I mean?
It just became so fun to me. I was working with my sous chef Riley. We kind of made this our baby, this like series. We would do so many different courses, so many different themes, all this stuff. But we would work together, and we got so excited about like what we were creating and all these different techniques and everything. At one point, I made these little edible pillows where you take rice paper and then you like cut it into squares and then you bake them in an oven and then they souffle and open up and then you have a clear little pocket that's crispy. Then you take like a metal skewering needle for like kebabs or whatever. You heat that up and then you burn a little hole in it and then you can take a filling, pipe it in there, right? So then you have like a crunchy little pillow of whatever, you know? And
That's
so like
awesome.
I put like oyster stuffing in there and like, you know, and people be like, what the fuck?
Man, now I'm
eating?
gonna start like I'm gonna judge these restaurants, Charleston. Be like, you just got normal oysters. What's going on?
Oh yeah, they'll come with like a little sauce of mignonette or cocktail sauce and
Man, my
whatever.
standards are so high now. I'm like, you don't have oyster ice cream?
Yeah.
Go ahead and take.
Oh, you never heard about it?
Take a star off. I see 5. Take one off.
Right.
Okay, I know. USDA. Yeah, that was crazy too, man. Whenever DHEC switched from that to like
Department of
USDA.
Ag?
Yeah, especially being at the zoo, man. So they just did our inspections. Like we got 18 restaurants. Some walking around the zoo. And the hard thing about the zoo is like most restaurants will clear cut around it and have a parking lot and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The zoo is just woods everywhere. So you've got so many like, and you can't spray bug spray. You can't put like poisons out because they're worried about if a rodent were to get it, they'd run into a tiger enclosure. So there's so much stuff that makes it one of the toughest like restaurant environments to work with. It's been difficult. I mean, basically it's just how to keep anything out, you know, that way you don't have to spray or whatever, and it's freaking crazy. But yeah, tell me too, man, about so whenever you travel to work with working for what's it called again, Knuckle Sandwich, the official Guy Fieri's Knuckle Sandwich.
Knuckle
That's
Sandwich LLC,
awesome.
baby.
That's so cool, man. It's like I think a knuckle puck from freaking Mighty Ducks. You know? And growing up in the South, man, we never like played hockey, but like we tried.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we never had ice. But like, what kind of restaurants do you go to? I know some of them you're just opening up, but is it kind of like
Are
some
you
of
talking
them
about like ones I go and eat at, or ones that I'm working
ones
for?
you're working for? You don't even have to say the names, like, but like some of them that like maybe they need like they're paying for you all to come in and like unscrew up what's going on, and like do y'all have that kind of like remake it for them, like, or is it just like, hey, we're gonna just make a whole new restaurant concept from knuckle puck, or sorry, dang it,
Knuckle sandwich.
there we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, now I'm thinking Mighty Ducks. Yeah, so what kind of like what are those restaurants and like
So, a lot of them are just making sure that we're monetizing them, right? Because if you go to like they're all in different regions of America, right? And there's lots of regional differences, right? So like in Tunica, Mississippi, you'll have fried green tomatoes as an appetizer, and in Council Bluffs, you'll have lots of meat and potatoes, right?
Yeah.
We want to keep, the same aspect around, like where if you go and get a trash can nacho from one place, it's going to be the same over here. It's just like we just monetize the consistencies
yeah.
and inconsistencies, especially in restaurants. You have like the notorious game of telephone in restaurants. Like you tell somebody something, and then over time, and some of these restaurants are 10, 12 years old, you hit, these games, these chains of telephone where it's like, oh, we've been doing it this way, and only because one person told me I should probably do it this way.
Yeah.
And then it evolves and snowballs into something else, and then we'll just be like, hey, like let's dial back and look at the recipe and go back to that way, because that's
awesome.
what the recipe is. That's law, and so it's a lot of just training, teaching, coaching, mentoring, helping.
But I mean, you even seem like, from hearing your 5 things that you've remembered, that have gotten you and inspired you along your journey daily as you look through it and you write your recipes and stuff, through your notebook. Like, you seem like you care about training too. You like to cook. Clearly you've got a lot of great creation and artist mentality, but like you want people, if they're going to be cooking, like, hey, pay attention. Let's do it right. Well, you're set up for success.
I have my 7 rule, my rule of 7, right? If I'm sitting there and I'm telling you 3 plus 4 is 7, right? We're looking for 7. We got to get 7, and you do it. You get 7. You get 7. You do 6 plus 1 because that works better for you. Like if you're left-handed and like I have something set up for a right-handed person, 6 plus 1, that's still equals 7. We're still getting the same product out.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking for you to go. But if like 4 plus 4 is like, that's close to 7, that's not in the realm,
Yeah.
So you can do things your own way, but as long as we get the same result at the end of the day, that's all. And especially with like time too, like we time these things out. We R&D, we make sure that the time is, what we say, right? That way it's not bottlenecking restaurants and like something super complicated, or it has too many steps to it. Yeah, so if you're doing 4 plus 4 and you're creating a time lag for your line, and you're not even getting the same product out, then let's go back to 3 plus 4 is 7.
No, that's cool. That's definitely a good way of looking at it. It's I've always kind of been the same way, but now, hearing it your way, it's a way easier way to put it. But I'm like, we just got to get to the same place. Everyone learns differently. Me, I have to fail at something.
Mm-hmm.
I like to fail really big because then I know no one can tell me the one thing I missed to do it perfectly next time. But now I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, that's just like it's not a stubbornness thing. It's just like, I have to know how something works. If I care about it enough, I've got to like tear it apart. I guess that's why I know how to fix and build so many things. It's like if I see someone coming to fix like a walk-in cooler because it wasn't temping right, and I see the condenser coils freezing over, I'm like, yeah, I know. Can y'all empty out the cooler for me? I know where that goes. I'm watching this guy because I can figure this out.
Yeah,
And
my
then I
first
watch,
boss, like I told you about, James Foley, he told me something very valuable when I was young. He said, you have 2 options when you see something that's wrong. You can either fix it or you can complain about it. What are you going to do? I like to fix it.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit there and be
At least you're going to try and fix it. You're going to YouTube something, it's like, hey, walk-in cooler, fan not spinning. Okay, hey.
Well, I
go
guess you have
outside
three
and check-
options. You can ignore it too.
Yeah.
Right? Why
Did
would
y'all
you
hear
do-
that? Sounded like a gunshot. Ah, they're watching the movie. There's some movie out there. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, you do have three options, and unfortunately, fortunately, you've got people like you out there being a chef, going to these restaurants, traveling. You're not staying in one spot, so you're spreading this message around, which is beautiful because you got a lot of people now that it's natural and it's how they're raised. I'm not blaming parents or the school system. A lot of it did do a disservice, to certain ones of these individuals, and then they chose to not listen along the way. But like, it's so easy for people to ignore.
Mhm.
And then whenever the bigger issue happens, when it can be fixed, they're just like, whatever. And then God forbid, hey, because that's like one of the number one things. If you got a cooler not temping, that'll shut you down.
Right.
It's like stuff like that. People are like, oh, that's wash your hands. I'm not saying that's not more or less. I'm like, but you're missing the point here of like everything is kept here, and it's
Well, like also very important. You don't want to hurt somebody. You
Yeah.
know, you want to prevent botulism, listeria, norovirus. You want to,
scurvy.
yeah. You don't want people to have that. You don't want people to go to your restaurant and just be like physically unwell. Botulism can cause paralysis and can be fatal.
Holy shit.
You don't want I want to make sure all these restaurants people can eat clean and feel good. I don't want
Yeah.
people leaving and 6 hours later being like, I need to go to the hospital because botulism can live in your body. You can have any foodborne illness starts. You can start to see side effects 6 hours to 10 days after being there, right?
And I feel bad asking this, dude. I have like a manager serve safe, but I can't remember what is like botulism like. How is it often formed and on like what foods? I'm blanking entirely on that.
So think of like canned products, right? So
Yeah.
if you open a can of tomatoes and it is dented or puffing up, or if you see like the labels like starting to discolor and stuff like that, that's botulism. That's bacteria. I'm not gonna try to pronounce the
All
name
right,
of the
so
bacteria.
you prepping survivalist. All right, whenever you've got a hurricane, you're like, I got canned food, and you're about to feed the kid the little mushroom top canned tomatoes. Don't do it.
Don't do it. It can be fatal. Botulism also can be caused in like if you feed an infant honey, right? Botulism will live in their tract and kill them.
That's crazy because honey's such a healing thing once you get older, But I have heard that, but I didn't know it was botulism. I just knew don't feed an infant honey. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
All right, that's crazy. Well, I know Guy. What was the show that he used to have, or does he still do it?
He still does it. Yeah.
What is it called again?
Which one?
Oh crap! Well, the one where he would go around and review restaurants.
There's Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives.
Yep.
Guy's Grocery Games. There's Guy's Ranch.
All right, have you been on any, or would you like to be on any of them?
I'd rather stay away from that.
Now, let me ask you. So he's kind of like a food. I guess you call a guy who reviews food, a food critic. Yeah. Do you ever get any emails where he's like, hey, it's like a 007 mission. You get like a little like freaking falcon flies over your house and drops a tube, and it's like, review this restaurant. Like Mission Impossible, this will self-destruct,
No, but that would be cool.
Dude, that would be. Nah, that'd be cool, man, if you could.
But I do go to a lot of restaurants now.
Do you ever feel and I don't live with fear of what people think about me. I'm just like, I'm gonna let them know. Like if you see something, even if you're just eating there, do you feel the audacity to be like, go and say something to them? Be like, hey, where's Chef? Can I pull him aside and be like, hey man, or just like eat the food and leave, or like even if it's just great, be like, dude, hell yeah, that was awesome food.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I respect the grind, and if it's great, like my buddy Alex Strickland, he runs Dragon Room right now. Every time I go eat over there, I'm always like, dude, that was amazing, or I always try his new food.
You said Dragon Room?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that at?
Vista.
Holy crap, I haven't been there. I've tried out.
Right by Divino Rosso.
Yeah, I know where that's at.
Yeah, it's right there to the left of it.
I have to go try that out.
Go try it out, man. They got some crazy these tamaki crunch wraps, dude. They're so good. Oh my god, it's like a nori that's tempura fried, and then it's like a little taco, and it's so good.
That sounds great.
It's like warm and cold and crunchy and a little spicy, and then you get seaweed. Oh, dude, so
it's like Asia meets Mexico.
It's Pan Asian, so it's like all over Asia. Yeah, but it's set up like a taco, right?
Yeah.
There are two of them set up like a W, and it's so good. I'm probably gonna go there after I leave here. No.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to try that out.
But yeah, I do like since now I do this, I do go to a lot of other restaurants for inspiration purposes, reading their menus. Like, we're a burger restaurant, so I get a lot of inspiration from like seeing. I've never been like a burger chef per se. I've always been like into like the fine dining things, and so going over to doing what I do now, it's kind of like a culture shock. I'm used to like doing really fine dining, small plates, like being there with tweezers and making things.
Yeah, you're a
eloquent,
surgeon,
like,
as we learned earlier, man. Like
Right.
you can like rip the bones out of something, and they just don't know that there's no bones in it. Like,
and they don't know
do you do
how much effort that takes too. Like,
But now
that's
you
the
got it
crazy
down
part.
to a science, though. You
Yeah.
know, you put in that discipline and consistency. Those are two things I apply every day to whatever I want. I got to discipline myself and be consistent. You know,
Yeah.
you can do anything you want. You just got to want to do it. You sound like you really love what you do.
Yeah.
Like just hearing you talk about, especially oysters, man. Like being hyped up about 1 million different oysters. I'm like, what the?
Oh, dude, I could go on.
You know,
Yeah.
But that's good. So you're not working, man. I mean, you're working, but like you're enjoying what you do, which is great.
Right, and that's what I tell people. Like, and that's the crazy thing. People say, "Oh, it's such a bullshit statement. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life."
But it's true,
But like, I genuinely love this, and I don't feel like I'm working. It's so fun. Like, it's so fun meeting new people, inspiring new people, talking to new people, learning about new regions. I'm a big history buff, and I love like when I go to new places and stuff, learning about like their culture, their region, what's going on over there, why, how did it end up like that? Like in Vegas, I was stuck there in my room. Like, well, I wasn't stuck there. I was stuck on my laptop, like learning about the mob and like how Vegas became a thing, which I'd never really cared about learning.
Dang, the
before.
mob like started Vegas.
Yeah, dude.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I would think that it was
if I
freaking
remember
the Mormons,
correctly-
man. Because every time I go to Salt Lake,
Yeah.
and Salt Lake City's beautiful, but like I'll run into a Mormon guy. He'll be like, we built this city. We carried rocks down from that mountain. I'm like, must have been the mountain beside it, because there's still a mountain there. There's still a lot of rocks. And he's like, well, it was one of them. I'm like, okay, cool. Hey, thank you. I was like, but you did it? You just said you did it. You sure wasn't like people before you? He's like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, like the mobsters were like heading out that way, and obviously going through desert and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think they found an aquifer in Vegas, and so that's why it kind of ended up there.
That's freaking cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never, like, when I think mob, I only think like New
If
York.
I'm correct, I don't quite remember.
Dude, I'm in like mad conspiracies and I love history, man. It's weird because in high school, like, after high school, I've learned so much more about stuff that I wanted to learn about, whether it being, I read so many books about things like, I don't know, a lot of people call them conspiracies, but like I love to just research and question something like, I was reading this these articles, this place in the middle of the Sahara Desert called the Reichert Circle, and it basically has resurfaced this formation of rocks, three layers of rocks that are massive, and there was clearly water in between them. And most people don't realize this is one thing that science can prove. A lot of times I'm like, science I have to argue with because I'm like, you can't really prove carbon dating, but I see where you're going with it. But like, I don't know. Because the first time the word dinosaurs ever used, most people are like, oh, thousands of years ago. I'm like, no, try like 150. Dragons were talked about for thousands and thousands of years, but not dinosaurs. Not saying they weren't real, but like people hear it in school and they're just like, they're sold.
Everyone knew about dinosaurs. They just found out about dinosaurs.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I know woolly mammoth was real. Like, I know certain things, like, but it's basically you go back to Plato and like he was talking about Atlantis, and you like think of Pangea. And you think of what he said Atlantis would have been and his findings of it. And it would have been, they're leaning towards this spot in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Because that desert goes through a entire ecosystem change every 5,000 years. It goes from a green, luscious, like kind of like rainforest to like desert, and it kind of like, I guess it was like some crazy wind. I don't know, but it started to basically reform this, and they started uncovering it. Like, what the fuck is this? And then they started diving into it.
That's why there's so much lost stuff in the Sahara, and like because of the sand, it just covers everything up and it's impossible to track.
Even those freaking pillars they found under the pyramids.
I was about to say, can we talk about that for a second?
Dude, I'm still trying to like figure out
what have we learned about that.
So I'm still trying to get some information. They haven't given much out. They do know that these things were found, and there's 8 pillars that go down, I mean, a couple kilometers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, like bigger than the Burj Khalifa or something like that.
Dude, yeah, and the copper that is wrapped around them is not like when you see
it is copper that's wrapped around it?
Yeah, there's copper intertwining some of these pillars. Not every one of them, because some of the videos are spotty and some of it I got to like make sure it's not AI. So I'm still trying to get some information on it, but some of the photos you can see. And I mean, of course the Egyptians are big on copper, so it only makes sense, but the copper's not like freaking electrical wire where it's multiple strands. It's like thick chunks of perfectly smooth, like freaking cylinders of like formed copper. And I sit there and think, I'm like, what the hell? Because like, I've always wanted to go to those pyramids. I've also wanted to do Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
I've wanted to see all these things, because my mom was, Cherokee, and I've always loved that side of my family, and just studying that and reading books on like the Wendigo and the skinwalkers when people talk about freaking, werewolves and stuff. And I'm like, I could tell you true stories. I don't know about vampires, but I do know about other things that, it's like walking in the Appalachian Mountains. A lot of people don't ever finish that giant trail, like the Foothills Trail, because one, they're not in shape or something like that may come up. But like, if you're ever in those mountains, especially in the borderlands of like Tennessee and North Carolina, there's certain trails that, I was always told as a kid, you never whistle in those woods ever. Like, you don't just do the whole Tom Sawyer thing. I mean, you might do like the Neil Peart Tom Sawyer thing and just air drum your way through it. But like, that's what I'm doing. But like, you don't whistle. If you ever hear your name, you didn't hear your name. Don't respond.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't hear your name.
I didn't know.
You have to fully acknowledge it. And it's like Skinwalker Ranch out in like, the Navajo, like way out there. Was that South Dakota? And I can't remember exactly where it's at, but like, these ancient teachings, but even if you like study like why these things are there, it answers questions about the pyramids. That's why like I'll dig into something like that. And it goes way, way back to like, people think Christopher Columbus was the first white man that landed on Newfoundland. They're entirely wrong. Yeah. There's so many books that I've read on like the Catawba Reservation. I'll go in their museum, and I go there anytime I go through Charlotte. I'll stop by and read books. And it's there's so much stuff like in the Grand Canyon even. There's like markings that are identical to the Egyptian pyramids that they're uncovering. And they're like, what the hell? It's like there's so much stuff too. And I look at history, and that's why I'm like, because you can see like even Christopher Columbus's books, whenever they like what they drew, the people they saw when they got here were people with beards that were not fully like Mexican looking, but they were Native Americans. No shit. And you just think Pocahontas, it's like that kind of thing. There was that, but it's also so much has like been manipulated and changed. And I only look into it for the fact of not to have a stance in an argument, but just because I'm like, I'm intrigued, I want to know. And it's because I want to know why did they stay? What was it that they really saw here that was better than there? I mean, they were probably like, damn, India, where's the spicy food? That's where they thought they were.
Right. Yeah.
They're like, what is this? I don't know, man, but those pyramids, I want to go over there. I'm planning, I actually have a photo of it. I'm planning a pilgrimage with a friend of mine in the next year or two. It's, where is it at? It is, I just pulled it up. It's over in France. It is the Camino de Santiago. It's like a 2.5 week pilgrimage all throughout like Spain, France, Portugal. And it's supposed to be like I wouldn't say, I mean, yeah, when you think pilgrimage, you think fully spiritual, and I think it is, spiritual for better understanding of like yourself. It's kind of like, taking shrooms or something, but this is like, I don't need to be like smoking peyote, like, whoa, where the hell are we at? It's like
pretty cool though.
It would be. I've done shrooms in the woods, and I'm like, it's cool until it's not.
Till
You
it's
know, you're
absolutely
like,
terrifying.
what the hell? Like, it's I heard something. That's
Yeah,
all
I did
something.
DMT in the woods, and
What? All right, hold on. So, dude, I've DMT. So I've did all the trippy drugs. I mean, I never went too crazy into like I smoked pot and stuff. But anytime I smoke, man, I'm like always high. I find myself to be to where I smoke now. It just makes me super paranoid. You know what I mean?
I
And-
like that though. Like I feel that too, but like there's like 15 minutes of like panic that ensues, and I love that. I feel like it gives me like a little jolt of something that I need.
Well, that's cool though.
At least weed, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, weed's cool, you know. So DMT, man. Well, for starters, in the woods.
Right. All right. So like in 2020, COVID happened, and I was back working at the Thai restaurant, and I just heard someone mention it, and I was like, "Whoa, you got some?" And he said, "Yeah." And then he's like, "What kind do you want?" And I was like, "There's different kinds." Like, yeah, there's different kinds. There's like
Oysters and DMT, folks.
There's like this gunky kind of like tarry looking stuff. There's like a yellowy powder. There's like a lot of different kinds of it because it's all natural.
Yeah.
Just how it's extracted, I guess.
And that's the one thing I
what
forgot.
it comes from, because there's different like herbs that contain more of it than others, or it's easier to extract. However, I do not know. But yeah, so 2020 was a wild time, obviously. And I was like, man, this is really cool. So I got a bunch of it, like honestly, way too much. And then
if you're gonna do it, something like that, you might as well. Can't just dip your toes in the water.
But I got with my buddy, and then we would take a bowl, and we'd put a little bit of weed, put the dreams there, and sandwich it.
I love how you said "put the dreams there" because that's if you know, you know.
Yeah, put the dreams, sandwich the dreams in the middle,
Dude,
and then
so cool.
you kind of just like.
Do you remember it? Like,
yeah, dude. One time was terrifying, dude. One time I was.
You've done it twice.
I've done it a million times. Like, not a million times. I've done it at least 100 times.
Dude, all right.
Like I told you, I got a lot. I ended up getting a lot.
All right, you got to tell us a story, man. I've got to hear this.
I'll tell you.
I've never met anyone that did it, but I Trevor Sonfeld.
Mm-hmm.
Years back, he's like, I got some 2CI. I'm like, oh
yeah, that's garbage.
But like, he was like, I've got some DMT. I'm like, pass, because that 2CI he gave me like a decade and a half ago. I took it with me and Russell Gahagan, and like
Russell,
it was like, dude, I shit you not, dude. It was the craziest thing. It was like 8 hours in. I'm like, this is fucked. I'm text Trevor. I'm like, nothing's happening. I walk into my living room. Me and my brother drew this massive whiteboard, and Russell's just drawing shit on the whiteboard. I'm like, how long you been doing this? He's like, can you shut the fuck up? And I'm like, and I look and I'm like, dude, that's Jesus Christ. He's like, sit down and watch. I'm like, yeah, And I'm like, holy shit, it's hitting. I'm like, what the?
And what we got? 2CI?
Yeah, I think. And I asked Trevor, I'm like, is that what it is? He's like, I don't remember. I'm like, whatever it was, it took 8 hours, and what the hell?
Yeah.
I don't actually know what it was.
Yeah.
But
like, all right, so one time there's like different like levels, right? Like if you can get to like hitting it 3 times, then you're an animal, and you shouldn't be on this earth. But like one time I did it, and like you hold it in, you got to vaporize it, and I held it in, and then as soon as you're exhaling, like it's so instant. As soon as you're exhaling, you feel it take over your body, kind of, right? And the wildest thing about it is like, whenever you're tripping on like acid or mushrooms, you still see everything that's there, but it looks new in a certain way. And you're also seeing through your eyes. But with DMT, it like kind of exhale, and then it kind of takes over your body. But swear to God, it's like right through the middle of your head, like what you're seeing. Cause like it call it blasting off, right? And it's seriously like that. And there's like this weird, like robotic voice that at least I heard, like, it's like, but then.
Dude, you're blasting off on like the whatever ship it is in Star Wars, and R2-D2's like, are you really?
I was like really depressed at this moment in my life. And so I did that, and you have like you go through like an ego death, right? Where I literally was like sitting in a chair, and my buddy was sitting on his bed, we're in his room, and I remember sitting in the chair and coming back to, well, like in this moment, I had like accepted the death of myself, my son, letting go of like all that stuff, and it was extremely terrifying. I was like, oh my God, like there's nothing anymore, you know? That's all gone, right? And I come back to, and it was kind of like a staticky channel, and I had to like ask my buddy, I was like, hey, did I go to work today? Did I come here after work and we had a Budweiser and then we did this to make sure I came back to the right place? Like it was the wildest.
So you can like have interactions with people while you're tripping.
I was like
you
coming down. It only lasts like in real time. It lasts like 5 minutes. In your mind, it could be like an hour, 5 hours, infinite time.
Holy
like it
hell.
doesn't exist. Yeah, it's freaking crazy.
I mean, what did you like? What like? I guess what's like the come down after it, and like what is it like?
Clear. I mean, it depends on how you take it, right? Because if you sandwich it like with weed, then like obviously you're gonna be a little stoned, right?
Yeah.
So then you're like, I get a little revved. You
Yeah.
know?
So I mean, like afterwards, man, like how did it like help or not help your life? You know, because shrooms, man,
Right.
like I'm a big believer in like microdosing with psilocybin. I think it's such a useful thing. You know, there's
like,
the what is it what's the name of the book? It's the not the blind ape theory. It might be the blind ape theory, where apes over time had eaten psilocybin mushrooms
Yeah.
and developed certain characteristics. It's not so much evolution, but like I was reading through, I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
That makes
it makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit.
The like after effects were like great, you know. I remember it being like that time specifically because I was like when I first got it and we were trying it out. I remember being so depressed and like not myself for a while. And then like the next like even though it was like gloomy outside, I was still like happy. I was like, wow, I feel like good. I feel like recharged, rejuvenated. I feel like I scratched an itch that I wasn't like didn't have any like woe is me. I was like I felt really like inspired to keep going. And at the time I was making I went from being like a salaried executive chef and I got a divorce and then I, tried to end my life at that moment and then I went to rehab for that because in the state of South Carolina it's illegal to commit suicide. So then they lock you in a crazy room. I did that, and then I went to Greenville. I quit cooking, and I worked for UPS for a little bit. I came back home, and I went back to that Asian restaurant, and I just had this like life on repeat kind of moment where it was like I had reached the top of my career at the moment, and now I'm just making a couple bucks an hour, and I was really bummed out about that. Like that did not feel good. I was like, I'm better than this. I know I am, but like it's okay. I'll pay my penance. I went through a divorce and let me restart my life. So I went and I started from the bottom again and did that over. But then I was like more inspired to like keep it going. And if I feel like it jump started me in like the most positive way. Like
you
it
feel
was just
like
a nice crank restart on the brain.
do you feel like without like of doing that, do you feel like you would have been where you are today? Like, do you think it was that impactful of like
I don't think it was that impactful.
Yeah.
I think naturally I made some amazing choices in life to get to where I'm at. Like,
because I've heard so many profound things from DMT to where it's like maybe it didn't get you where you're at, but it's like you could be there
it definitely
in 10 years versus 4
Yeah,
or
it
something.
definitely got me out of like a huge depression.
I mean, yeah, man, that's I'm happy for you, dude. So happy. I almost brought tears to my eyes like hearing that because I can definitely empathize. You know what I mean? It's I've been there, and it's having positive people and fellowship and a clear path isn't always something you got. And you're like, what the hell? What's going on? And that's freaking awesome, man. To hear that from today, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, like to get somewhere good, I think you have to kind of go through the troubles, more than once. Yeah,
I tell this a lot, man. It's a Cherokee proverb my grandfather told me growing up, like religiously. People want the rain, you know what I mean? You can't pray for the rain, you want rain, but not being able to deal with the mud too that comes with it, It's like, and I've always looked forward to the grit. I've always been someone who can't accept something if it wasn't earned, like, and I had to like work hard for it, you know.
Mm.
It's like I DJ'd for nightclubs for years, and it was fun, man. It was my first real job, making a lot of money in the music industry. Not what I wanted to do, but I got the job because I said Nickelback sucks. So I was like, fuck yeah. You know, I mean,
Nickelback's awesome.
Yeah, Nickelback's awesome. I just don't like Chad Kroeger. Let's be real. You know what I mean? He could sing. He's kind of a tool. You know what I mean? But it's like Nickelback is all right.
Nickelback, Three Doors Down, Creed.
Yeah,
Love them all.
Yeah, and it was funny, man. I walked into the club and I was like, I've never been into a titty bar before, and they're like, because Russell Gahagan was working at Platinum Plus at the time. He was bar backing. He was my roommate, and he came home and he had just had a stack of cash.
Was that in 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went up there and I was like, oh, I can work as hard as him, if not fucking harder. I was like, do you need another bar back? I was working at Moe's at the time, and I was also skateboarding from my house to Moe's, and then all the way to waited tables at Ruby Tuesdays.
Yeah, you did work at Ruby Tuesday. Yeah,
shit. Yeah, that was crazy. Man, I forgot about that.
Ruby Tuesday.
Yeah, that was
Which
a
one
good.
did you work at? The one on Beltline and not Beltline.
Divine Street.
Divine Street.
Yeah, I worked there with like a lot of cool people, man. It was a great group of people to work with.
Junior
there.
was there.
Yeah, I worked with
Caroline
Junior,
was there.
Caroline. Yeah. Junior's like a Marine now, right?
No, he's in the Army.
But aren't ready for Marines yet. I'm neither, but hey, I heard that, so I was like, that's funny. You know, Marines eat crayons, so whatever.
Yeah. He's doing good.
That's
doing good.
awesome.
He's getting huge, dude.
Well, I'd seen him like scroll across on Facebook. I'm like, what the fuck? That's not the same guy. He was like skinny skater dude playing drums, and I was like,
and now his legs are like
yeah,
this
I'm like,
fat. Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, that's fine. Little mini The Rock over here.
Right.
But that's awesome. Yeah, it's
he's in Fayetteville.
Oh, cool, man.
So
Yeah.
if you want his address, I'll just
just tell everyone. Nah, that's cool, man, because I went in there and he's like, we don't need a bar back. I was like, damn. He's like, we need a DJ tech. I'm like, dude, I'd never DJ'd. He's like, well, I see the drumsticks on your arm. I'm like, yeah. He's like, what do you know about music? I'm like, I know a lot. I was like, but what kind of music do you play here? He's like, you've never been to one? I'm like, dude, I'm like 18, 19. I was like, I don't have money to do this. I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
Right.
I ain't got that kind of money. And so I was like, can I go in? I walk in and I hear, what song was it? I think it was SCX by Nickelback. And I'm like, I turned around, looked at Sean, the GM. I was like, here's the deal. I was like, I could tell you right now, 10 to 15 other 90s hard rock alternative bands I'll play over Nickelsack. He's like, you got the fucking job. He's like, fun fact, the DJ is Canadian. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was like, that's the only person who can play Nickelback. That's like their freaking anthem up there. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn it. Yeah. And he's a Marine. And I go up to the booth.
They're from Alberta, right?
Yeah. I go up there and I was like, how's this work? And he's like, yo, Blink 182 tattoo. He's like, hey, you want to talk some shit on the microphone? I was like, what? And he just grabs the mic. He's like, hey, dude, tip or I'll stab you. I was like, oh, I fucking love this. And like 4 years, 5 years of that, I went to Greenville as the head DJ. It was fun, but I had to do I had to get back into my roots of working hard. So I took a job, worked for the railroad, and working 100 to 100,
real hard.
100 to 115 hours a week, man, just before I had a kid or anything. And it was that's why when people complain, it took me years to build empathy towards people's complaining, because like I'd be like, you shut the fuck up. Like, I had to go through.
I still struggle with that.
Sure. I had to bring Mr. Clean himself to my house to get the rail dust out of the shower. You know what I mean? It was like that bad. But it was those things, you know, the way I've taken all those hardships and hard workings throughout life is that hopefully not everyone has to go through the zigzag pattern I did, and I can kind of give them a blueprint. But I'm like, here's a blueprint. You do have to work hard. Yeah. I was like, I'm giving you something that I didn't have to help you, but you have to work for it. I'm not doing that for you.
Absolutely.
But this is a useful tool if you use it, you know? And that's cool because a lot of chefs, man, I mean, I guess, like, what's your message to chefs out there? Because I see a lot of chefs that, and I don't mean this in a disheartening way, and I don't mean like, hey, if you don't clearly like to cook and talk about food like John is over here, which he's like super hyped about a million different types of oysters, like if you just like to cook food, but like you get too irritated too often with it, like what is it that you think it takes to be a successful chef, you know? Not saying you can't be one if you don't do these, but
humility is really big. A lot of like, you have an ego as a chef, right? Because you want to believe that your food is the best, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what sells you as a product from the owner of the restaurant, right? You are a product they're buying, they're investing in you to keep their restaurant going. Um, a lot of chefs, and I've been guilty of this a million times, just, sometimes you gotta, take a break, and stop getting so like, you don't need to be there every day. You need to
Take
take a
time to
break.
smell
You
the
need
roses.
to take time to smell your roses, chill out. Not everyone's the best, and you're not always right. That's the hard thing because the chef is like, doesn't matter. That's what I said. That's how you're gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
You're not always right. There's a million ways to skin a cat. There's a million ways to do things. Yeah, there are some things.
I just love how you used cat.
There are
That's so awesome.
there are some things
cats
that
are
are
cool.
that are rules or laws per se of food, right? You don't mess with the way you make Mornay, a bechamel, hollandaise, velouté, espanol tomato sauce, like those. You can use those as a base to create new things, but you don't change the way that they're made, and then be like, that's my recipe, that's right, like because I had this one chef work for me, and he had this recipe for Mornay, which Mornay is just a cheese sauce made with a bechamel, which is butter, flour, milk. You can put nutmeg, salt, and pepper in there, and you have a nice bechamel, a nice little sauce, right? You add cheese to that, Gruyere, whatever, then you have a Mornay. This chef I had working, he was using like cornstarch slurry, heavy cream, and like other ridiculous things. And I was like, and you're calling it a Mornay. It's like, how about read a proper book on what you're doing, before you just,
Yeah.
Because also you're making things more complicated. And this is something that's super easy to make, and you're just making it harder for everyone else. Like, and also people that are trying to learn the right ways to do things, you're not rewriting the book. But you can play with the book, that's fine. Do all that.
Yeah.
But you're not rewriting it. And I think some chefs, I haven't seen a lot of chefs do that, but I've seen enough to be like, can I teach you something real quick?
Well, see, I love to eat great food and I love to cook great food. I've never cared too much to be like the pioneer of something new. I mean, I've been stoned sometimes. I'm like, yo, what if I deep fry this Uncrustable and like throw it in cat litter? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, but like,
it's a nice crunch.
Yeah, Crunch Wrap Supreme. But like it's definitely something that separates like a chef from someone who just cooks, and I appreciate that. I know that is not me. I care about food and people's safety with food and the experience, especially being where I work. I want people to enjoy it. Whether it's just a simple cheeseburger, I want it to be a good, simple cheeseburger for them. I want them to have a clean dining room. I want them to just have a good time. I care about the people aspect a lot, and I think it's a healthy balance. But like,
yeah, food is what brings countries and culture. Food is what culture is, and like to me, it's like super important. Especially having parents from other parts of the world, like their food was their identity. To a degree. My food is my identity. Like, I just think that people either over complicate things or make things too much about themselves versus just, we're here to put a smile on someone's face. Because cooking is one of the only jobs where you get instant gratification, right? Like, immediately if someone enjoyed what you did or you did not, and I love the good side of that, obviously. So,
dude, I'll tell you, the story. I can't remember the name of the place off the top of my head. And it sucks too, because I went out to do the National Western Stock Show 2 years ago with the SSA, the company I work with. And I was there for a month, literally like feeding cowboys and like working that place. It was so cool. Because growing up on a farm, everyone's like, it smells like shit down there. And I'm like, dude, I touched that hairbrushed cow. Like, it was so cool. They're like, what? And I'm like, oh, no, that's cool for me, But then I worked hard. I didn't complain. Everyone was like, I was getting up at 5 a.m. Everyone was taking a day off. I was on salary. I knew I was kind of getting fucked over either way. I was going to work just my soul away. But I was like, dude, I've never been to Denver. Never seen this. They're doing the pro rodeo here. I'm like, this is cool. I got to be here every second. And I worked every day, 5 to like as late as I could. And then one day the CEO of the company came up. And he's like, hey, man, I gave my debit card to a guy who works at the Houston Zoo. And I had been working with them, and they're such a hard-working group of people. He's like, I can go out to eat later for dinner. I was like, oh, cool, thanks, man. He's like, no, thank you. And so like, hey, get ready. We're going to go for dinner later. And I was like, what am I wearing? Where are we going? You know, he's like, casual. And then he takes us to like a Michelin star restaurant. Never been to one. I walk in and I'm like, hey man, did you knew we were coming here? And he's like, yeah. I was wearing a fucking like Sum 41 t-shirt and like,
Yeah.
I'm committed. That's fine. We're going with it. And so I go in and I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. He's like, are you hungry? I'm like, yeah. So I order when I get back to. I'm kind of afraid to order a side. You know what I mean? It was like expensive, but it looked great. And I come back. He's like, dude, orders you a 28-ounce Wagyu ribeye, fatty. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah. He's like, and I got you the broccolini and this, that, and another. Dude, I ate it, all of it. I asked the server. I was like, what chef made this, or was it 2 of them? Or was it 3? Was it 4? Were people back there praying for this? Like, what happened? And he was like, oh, yeah, that's Chef so-and-so. And I was like, can he come out here? He's like, oh, no. I was like, I'll go back there. My shoes are actually non-slip. And he was like, whoa. I was like, I know, dressed for the wrong spot. And so I go back there and I give this dude a hug. I'm like, dude, you're my hero. This is so good. Like, I could tell, like, you're, you know, he's like, no one's ever given me a hug for cooking food. He's like, that's like the coolest thing ever. I was like, dude, I just felt like a handshake wasn't enough, you know? And I appreciated that. You know, I always would look at fine restaurants and I'd be like, oh, wow, hoity toity, you know, because growing up super frugal and poor. But then I gained a new perspective that day of it really, those people put so much art and time and care into the kitchen, the way the kitchen's built, the equipment they have, the cool.
Some people are ruining their home lives to be able to feed you know?
And so it's
detrimentally.
And it's so worth it, you know? It's an experience that like it should be expensive because it's like they don't want to bring in people looking like me that night. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, and it was funny too, because I enjoyed it. I gained a lot of perspective that day. I was like, wow, it was cool. And you know, I'll go to like places. I love going to the Bodie.
Bodie, I love Bodie. Navette's one of my good homies.
I swear I don't know what it takes to make like a Michelin star, but that's like the nicest place I eat, and it's just great. You know, it's like that kind of food. Like I could tell they care so much. You know, and that's cool. Now let me ask, you know, before we like wrap this up, do you do any kind of like, you know, food posting and stuff like that? Do you have like a following you try to keep for anything, or do you
not at all.
You just work? Well. I was gonna tell everyone where to find you at, but you might
just stay in Colombia. I have an art page that's got all my art on it. I make rugs and acrylic paintings and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find that?
You
know,
what is the name of it? I just made it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I started making these rugs, just with like a tufting gun and stuff. So super fun.
Like this kind of a rug? Like,
I'll show you.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa. Because looking at this, I'm like, yeah, that's art.
acr.sto.
acr.sto.
On Instagram, yeah. It's art, but in the middle of that is CSO, which is like my alter ego, Chef Supreme Overlord.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like Donut Lord from
like,
Sonic.
Here's a rug that I made. They're all like tattoo style rugs.
What the hell, dude? I'm definitely gonna like buy one of those,
making
bro.
one of those, and then I made a peony.
Dude. All right, so yeah, what is it again? All right, so all you delinquents out there like me, they're tatted up, and I'm just kidding. This dude has some badass rugs. So where's it at again?
acr.sto.
He makes some awesome. It looks like traditional American traditional style rugs. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
very fun.
That's
it's
cool,
a
man.
Whole mess though. It's such a mess.
I can only imagine making a rug.
Every time you're using the tufting gun and it stops, you're losing. Like you get so much like an inch of yarn just on your ground every time you stop, and you got to make all these lines. You got to fill everything in. And then by the time you're done, your feet are just covered in yarn.
That's crazy though, that you like make that though. Like that's cool. Freaking awesome. I mean, that's like a tattooer's side hustle dream.
Right.
Like that's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. Speaking of tattoos, I did all these.
Oh, you like
Except for that.
You did it on yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I didn't know you did
do
tattoos
this.
too.
I didn't do this, or that, but the rest of
Man,
these on my
that's
legs.
awesome.
I did.
Hell yeah, bro. I mean, I've always loved the American traditional style. I mean, I've got a few, like I've got my Bilbo Baggins walking out the door on the back of this leg. I gave John Boy, who does a lot of my tattoos.
John Boy, yeah.
Yeah, he's
He used to be my neighbor.
Oh, that's awesome,
like
man.
10 years ago, yeah.
Back whenever he was like,
Whenever you came over to my house, Rosewood.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was living right behind me.
dude, that's awesome, man. It's been like a decade, dude, since I saw you,
That
man.
was,
It's
like,
just crazy.
13 years ago.
Yeah, I reached out to Tyler Hale a couple weeks back too. I was like, man, just need to connect with some people. You know, it's that's one cool thing too. Is like, if you don't like burn bridges when you reconnect with someone, it's like you just pick back up.
Dude, yeah,
And it's so cool.
Yeah.
I've never tried to burn bridges. Unfortunately, it's happened, and I've tried to mend it.
I fired some people.
Yeah.
Burn those bridges.
Yeah.
Don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah, don't be a piece of shit. Like, hey, exactly. But that's cool, man, dude. This has been an absolute pleasure, man.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you coming on, man, and just telling us your journey.
Yeah, thanks. Man.
Not only the DMT journey, but your journey to where you're at today, man.
Yeah,
And,
shouldn't have mentioned that.
nah, dude, it's cool, man. It's definitely sweet. And by DMT, I didn't say that. I meant handful of grass.
Yes.
No, that's cool, man. I appreciate it. Well, you got anything else you want to say before we call it quits?
Keep cooking.
Keep cooking, baby.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
till next time. Yeah, man.